So, what happens when you type the address of your favorite website into your web browser? Actually, a lot of things happen, so I'll just focus on the most important bits. In this video, I will cover proxies, DNS, dynamic DNS, and port forwarding. Stick around if you're trying to protect your privacy, remotely access your self-hosted services, or just want to understand how the internet works. Let's assume your computer has never visited the website before. The first thing it does is send a request to a domain name system, asking, "Hey, I'm looking for a website called www.myfavoritewebsite.com." The DNS searches through a sort of a phone book for your website's IP address. Once it's found, it responds with, "I got you, buddy, it's this address." Then, your computer connects to that address and requests all the website's information, like the HTML code, images, and so on. Along the way, the request might pass through a proxy. Finally, the website responds with all the necessary data. Now, what if you wanted to self-host a website, a service, or an app on your own server and access it from anywhere in the world? One of the easiest ways to do that securely and for free would be to install NordVPN on your server and phone and set up Meshnet using the guides in our documentation. The other way is to set up a reverse proxy server, a TLS certificate, forward a couple of ports, and probably set up a dynamic DNS. Starting with proxies, there are quite a few proxy types. However, I'll cover the three most commonly used: forward, SOCKS5, and reverse proxies. Forward and reverse proxies are quite similar, but with one key difference. When your computer requests a certain page from a forward proxy, it has to specify the origin server the request should be forwarded to. Think of it like passing a dinner plate from your mom to your cousin when she asks you to give him some more veggies. SOCKS5 is a special type of proxy, and unlike HTTP proxies, which only handle website traffic, SOCKS5 can forward any kind of internet traffic, including gaming, peer-to-peer, and voice-over IP calls, while also hiding the source of the traffic from your destination website, like a dinner plate that appears out of thin air in front of your cousin. Well, similar to a VPN, it doesn't encrypt your traffic and is relatively easy to detect, making it much less secure than a traditional VPN. A reverse proxy is a service that receives a request from a client and forwards it to a specific address and/or port. The origin server then responds, and the reverse proxy sends the response back to the client. The client generally never knows the actual origin server. It only interacts with the reverse proxy. This has several benefits. You can hide your machine behind a proxy, set up multiple services on a single machine, and easily configure TSL encryption. In my opinion, the two most commonly used reverse proxies are NGINX and Caddy. Each has its pros and cons. The first one is a mature piece of software that relies on stable libraries that have been around forever. It supports in-place updates and hot reloads, meaning you can update or reconfigure it without dropping connections. However, its configuration file is very particular, especially when compared to Caddy, which is primarily a web server that also acts as a reverse proxy. On top of that, Caddy has a built-in automatic HTTPS configuration that will encrypt connections made through it. Okay, we've got the reverse proxy covered. What's the next step in setting up our self-hosted website or service? Port forwarding. Most web traffic traditionally uses two specific ports: port 80 for unsecured HTTP traffic and port 443 for encrypted HTTPS traffic. But what does port forwarding actually do? In most cases, it's handled by your router. When you forward a port, you're opening up your router to external connections and routing them to a specific local IP address, usually your self-hosting server. Think of port forwarding as giving special instructions to a gatekeeper, and in this case your router, saying, if someone knocks on this door and asks for jellyfin, send them straight to the theater room. That way, they don't get lost or rejected while looking for this right room. Keep in mind that forwarding ports might be a security risk. It allows attackers to try exploiting any service running on those specific ports. it also can make you vulnerable to DDoS attacks, which flood the port with a massive number of connections. Now that we've covered reverse proxies and port forwarding, let's talk about DNSs, which stands for Domain Name System. I've covered this topic in the Pi-hole Meshnet tutorial, but here's a quick refresher. Humans are much better at remembering words than random strings of numbers, which is exactly why we use domain names like www.nordvpn.com instead of IP addresses. Computers, on the other hand, are much better at handling numbers. DNS servers exist to bridge this gap, translating easy-to-remember website names into numerical IP addresses. DNS servers also come with risks, like DNS hijacking, a cyber attack where attackers manipulate DNS settings to send users to fake websites or malicious servers. There's also DNS leaking, which happens when your computer accidentally sends DNS requests to the wrong server, potentially revealing your browsing activity and compromising your privacy. For those reasons, it's crucial to choose your DNS provider carefully. NordVPN has private DNS servers, which are automatically used whenever you're connected to a NordVPN server. These safely handle all DNS requests, keeping your activity private. But we still don't have our domain name for our website, and since it's 2025, we probably don't have a static IP address either. Websites and servers typically have static IP addresses, but the IPv4 pool is finite. It can only cover 32 bits worth of addresses, which is exactly 4,294,967,296 possible addresses. Back in late 2019, we officially ran out of new IPv4 addresses. That's why your internet provider keeps changing your external IP address every few weeks. Imagine ordering a pizza if your home street name changes every couple of weeks. This is where dynamic DNS comes in. It's a service your device pings periodically to update your current IP address. This way, when someone looks for your website, the dynamic DNS knows exactly where to find it. Most dynamic DNS services provide a subdomain as a part of their offering. Some are paid, while others are free. Keep in mind that this also means that you're associating a domain name with your IP address, essentially putting a pin on the map of internet and saying, "Hey, I'm here," which might draw unwanted attention. With all the pieces in place, we've opened ports in our router and directed them to our self-hosting server. We've configured a reverse proxy with a dynamic DNS domain name, ensuring it points to the correct port of our self-hosted app. We've generated a TLS certificate for encryption. A script is running to update our dynamic DNS provider with our latest IP address, and finally, we can grab our phone, type in our website's address, and access it from anywhere in the world. Or you could just install NordVPN on your server and phone and set up Meshnet in a couple of clicks. It really is that much easier. Plus, Meshnet doesn't require an active NordVPN subscription, and it encrypts your traffic, making it a secure alternative to port forwarding, reverse proxies, and domain management. Anyway, I hope you learned something today. And if you did, make sure to like the video and let me know in the comments below. That's gonna be it. See you around.